Our new Vannon begins with Haruto, who became shut-in for 5 years after being bullied at school. Then suddenly, a flash of light occurs and a goddess welcomes him to heaven. She carefully chooses Haruto to be reincarnated since he died in his room. The goddess is about to reincarnate him into a magical world, so she blesses him with a set of overpowered skills. Thinking back on his boring life, Haruto wants to enjoy this new one, and thus he is reincarnated into a royal family as the first prince named Rihard. His father is King Jilk, and his mother is a hero named Galt, who defeated the Demon King. However, when the court mage performs a magic aptitude test, they see that Haruto is only at level 2 with just barrier magic and no elemental magic. This would be considered a disgrace to the king and the hero if the public found out that their newborn is weak. So his own father and mother order their servant to silently dispose of Haruto, considering him trash. The goddess observes the situation and becomes worried. She tells her friend that she granted Haruto a level of 1002, but this world's level measuring device won't go above 2 digits. Moreover, she forgot to give him an elemental power. As a result, Haruto is thrown away into the woods. This goddess is a bit of a knucklehead. Anyway, in the woods, Haruto recalls the barrier magic that the mage mentioned, so he imagines it and the barrier appears. He can also freely change its format at will, so he uses the barrier on himself to fly up into the sky. Haruto is pleased with his powers because they don't even burn a little bit of his mana. Then Haruto lifts the whole area out from the ground and the wolf realizes she's totally screwed. She surrenders to him, but Haruto thinks his ears are ringing. Haruto still proceeds, and then the lady wolf speaks, surrendering a second time. Haruto realizes it was her speaking. Haruto introduces himself and explains to her that his father, the king, threw him away for having weak mana. But the wolf lady named Flaw can see that Haruto has an enormous amount of mana that easily surpasses human limits. Seeing this, Flaw mistakes Haruto for being a demon king, and Haruto goes along with her imagination, saying that he was a demon king in his previous life. Flaw then waits for her punishment of death for trying to kill Haruto, but Haruto shows generosity and spares her life. Haruto uses his barrier to create a telepathic link between them to transfer their thoughts. Then, a man arrives claiming to be Haruto's relative. He came to save him and take him in, but Fla claims that Haruto is her master, so he belongs to her. His name is Gold, and he offers some milk for Haruto, but Fla refuses. Gold tells her that he lost his first child during childbirth, and Haruto was abandoned because he was weak. He wanted to save him because it doesn't matter to him if he's weak. He believes every child should have a chance to live. Hearing his backstory, Flo bursts into tears out of sympathy. Seeing her reaction, Gold offers to take her in as well. They come to a deal, and Flo agrees to his offer. Gold then breaks Haruto's basket to fool everyone into thinking Haruto died. With that, Haruto is adopted by Gold and his wife, Natalia. 9 years go by, and in that time, Haruto gets a little sister named Charlotte. However, it's clear she doesn't like him. Instead, she loves Flo and wants to play with her. But Flo disagrees as she needs to help Haruto. Haruto asks Flo to go with Charlotte, and she agrees. Natalia tells Haruto that Charlotte is perhaps shy around him because he's a boy but is carefree when she's with Flo. Natalia wants Haruto to be social since he's the heir of their family and suggests he do something special for Charlotte to bond with her. However, Haruto is planning to leave home once he comes of age. He even made a clone with a barrier, but doesn't move or talk. If he were to go off on his own, naturally Fla would follow him, and if that happens, Charlotte would hate him for her entire life. Then Gold calls Haruto out to the yard because he wants to train him in swordsmanship since Haruto has the lowest amount of mana. Haruto knows he won't get away from it. Also, Gold is a seasoned warrior at the top-notch level, nicknamed Earth-Shattering Warhammer, so Haruto uses a barrier on himself to make up for his lack of physical strength. When Haruto tries to strike, Gold sees the powerful attack and dodges it in time because it's powerful enough to put a dent in the ground. Gold is surprised to his core. However, Haruto still thinks that he's at level 2 because when he tested himself, his level showed as 002. But even with that level, he can do anything he wants with his barrier magic, even if he lacks elemental power. Later that night, Natalia notices that Gold is lost in thought. Gold tells Natalia that he trained Haruto today, but after seeing his powers, he thinks Haruto might be a reincarnation of a demon. There are records that one of the royal family members got involved with a demon, so it could be possible that Haruto has demon traits in him. Since the demon wolf, Flo, considers him her master, it could be possible. However, both Gold and Natalia don't care and want Haruto to live a normal and happy life. While everything seemed to be going fine, one day Haruto heard a commotion outside. He saw through his surveillance barrier that his father's army had been seriously wounded by attackers. Haruto rushed to his father, and Gold told him it was the work of thieves who had attacked them out of the blue. Philip blamed Gold for his incompetence, which put Haruto in a bad mood. He healed almost all the wounded soldiers with his barrier magic, but didn't tell anyone he had done so. Later that night, when Haruto woke up to answer nature's call, he saw Phil standing outside his room. Haruto realized she was still upset because he had gotten angry at her earlier. She really was cute. Haruto apologized for losing his temper, and then he and Flay went outside. He used his surveillance barrier to locate the thieves who had attacked Gold and his army. Fortunately, one of his cameras spotted them, so Haruto quickly used his barrier to fly himself and fully to their location. Incidentally, Charlotte saw them flying away. At the thieves' hideout, some soldiers were involved with them. Unfortunately for them, Haruto arrived, taking down their guards. He quickly froze the thieves with his barrier magic, and when one of them tried to speak nonsense, Haruto made an example out of him. After tying them up, the captain of their group told Haruto that they were soldiers of the neighboring empire infiltrating to cause chaos. They even had a mole working for them, helping them pass the borders of the empire. That was all they knew. Haruto realized that someone more influential than Gold must be behind this plan. The attackers begged for their lives, but Haruto ordered Phil to burn down the entire fort as he couldn't spare those who had attacked his father. Phil burned it all down. Now the matter at hand was to find out why the Imperial soldiers were involved in attacking his father. For the time being, Haruto sent an anonymous letter to inform Gold about this. He mentioned the mole at the border and how he had taken down the thieves and their fort. Somehow, Gold also suspected the involvement of the Imperial family. Meanwhile, Charlotte wanted to know who had helped them. Gold suspected Phil given she was a demon and a powerful one at that, but Charlotte remembered seeing Haruto and Flea flying. She asked Phil, thinking there were two Harutos. When she saw Haruto flying, she ran to his room but found him sleeping like a log. However, she couldn't sense Haruto's overwhelming mana while he was asleep. Flay was impressed that Charlotte could sense Haruto's mana, and as few people could do that. Charlotte wanted to know more about Haruto's powers, but Flay kept silent. Charlotte later told Haruto about this, and he started setting up more surveillance barriers to keep an eye on her movements as he wanted to hide his powers from her. For several days, Charlotte kept following Haruto whenever he tried to sneak out, spying on him. Finally, on the 7th day, the situation reversed and Haruto was the one keeping an eye on her. Natalia and Charlotte were about to go on a trip. Haruto suddenly received an alert from the barrier he had placed around Charlotte, indicating they were in danger. Their carriage was attacked by Imperial soldiers. Natalia fled to save Charlotte, blocking their magic attacks, but one spell hit her leg. Haruto communicated with Charlotte through a barrier spell, guiding her to safety. Natalia noticed someone was guiding Charlotte but didn't question it. However, their escape led them to a high cliff. Even so, Natalia jumped off and landed roughly. Charlotte pointed out a cave where they could hide. Natalia took her inside and saw it was filled with luminous plants. She told Charlotte she would go out to find the hero who had helped them reach the cave and asked Charlotte to stay hidden. Just as Natalia left, the cave was covered by an illusion spell and the attackers found her. Natalia considered ending her life rather than being captured, but her dagger was shattered into pieces and an electric shock knocked her out. Haruto arrived just in time, furious that these men had harmed his mother. With a single command, he sent them flying away. He brought Natalia into the cave, asking Charlotte to look after her. She stopped him and asked if he was the hero who saved people and punished sinners. Haruto hesitated, as it was such a childish question, but eventually, he went along with it and accepted the role of a hero, asking her to keep it a secret. After cleaning up the mess, Haruto returned home and Gold got the news of their situation. He wanted to thank the mysterious hero who had saved them. Gold then asked Haruto about the incident, but Haruto remained calm, not worried about the Imperial soldiers, which Gold believed. Natalia and Charlotte then returned home and Gold was relieved to see them safe. For the first time, Charlotte showed affection for her older brother, shocking both of her parents. She kept it a secret that Haruto was the one who had helped them. As episode 3 starts, Charlotte now goes to Haruto every day to play with him, and Haruto doesn't dislike it, especially seeing her cuteness. However, Charlotte is drawn to his surveillance screen and thinks it's ancient magic. Haruto explains that it's hard to learn wasp magic without proper information. Charlotte then takes Haruto to the castle's library, and he realizes for the first time that their castle has a library. Charlotte picks up a few books on ancient magic like a real librarian because their mother, Natalia, and Phil always read these books to her. Since she can't read herself, she sits on Haruto's lap to read the book, but Haruto tells her to sit beside him on a chair. However, Charlotte is used to sitting on Flea's or her mother's lap while reading. Haruto begins reading the book and discovers that gods can travel between worlds, similar to the anime he used to watch in Japan. Hearing this, Charlotte becomes excited and wants to know more about anime. Haruto tries to explain that it would be difficult for her to understand, but she insists. So Haruto simply explains that anime is like moving pictures. Seeing Haruto's enthusiasm, Charlotte wants to see anime as well. Haruto is swayed by her cuteness, and after 2 weeks, she somehow brings Google into this world. Since there were many genres, Charlotte gets a bit confused, but she eventually chooses a magical girl anime and becomes instantly captivated by it. However, the anime is in Japanese, so she wants to learn the language even though she's still a child. Haruto goes along with it and teaches her the basics. She turns out to be a genius, mastering the language in just 2 hours, and soon she starts searching for word meanings on Google herself. 2 weeks pass in an instant, and Charlotte's love for anime grows fully, especially for zombie and Power Rangers type anime. Haruto doesn't want to let her watch anime all day long, but she looks so cute while enjoying her shows. However, it could affect her health, so as a big brother, Haruto decides to be a bit strict. Since she's becoming an otaku, Charlotte wants to start another season of anime, but Haruto stops her, setting a ground rule of watching anime for only 3 hours a day, as it's not healthy for a kid to watch that much TV. This comes as a real shock to her. At dinner, Charlotte is dozing off, so Gold asks Haruto what she's been up to as she spends all her time with him. Charlotte quickly gets up to tell them that she's studying ancient magic with Haruto. After dinner, Charlotte continues to follow Haruto with her puppy dog eyes for more anime, but Haruto is firm about the 3-hour rule. She can tags along in the bath because she has nothing else to do besides watch anime. Typical otaku behavior. Charlotte notices Haruto's royal birthmark, but she has no idea it's a royal mark and instead thinks it's a hero's mark. Finally, when it's night, Charlotte is still sticking to him while their mother, Natalia, enjoys herself and supports Charlotte from afar. Then the day comes when Gold leaves to wipe out the remaining thieves, and Charlotte starts worrying about him. She wants Haruto to do something since he's the hero of justice. Haruto, once again swayed by her puppy dog eyes, gives in. She wants Haruto to transform like a hero, so he fulfills her wish by choosing the look of La Luche Vi Britannia. Charlotte wants to tag along as well, but Haruto refuses because it's dangerous, seeing her sad. Haruto gives her a live surveillance feed, which brightens her up. Haruto then finds those thieves and traps them with his barrier. It's way too easy. He confronts them to give Charlotte a live anime experience. After defeating them, Gold arrives and isn't hostile toward Haruto, asking for his name. Haruto, unable to come up with anything, names himself Still Pending. Honestly, it's the crappiest name, and even Haruto knows it. Gold wants to know his motive, so Haruto has to go along with cheesy hero dialogue to make her happy. This cheesy hero, Still Pending, becomes an embarrassing reality with many heroic deeds. After a few days, Haruto successfully creates a working clone of himself, but it becomes a carbon copy. Charlotte, who is right there, becomes confused seeing 2 brothers. Then Haruto and Charlotte are called out because the crown prince and princess are visiting them. Haruto knows they are his blood siblings, but when Gold greets Princess Moran first, Prince Lise thinks Gold disrespected him for being second. Lise is a cocky brat, but Gold apologizes. Moran tells him to mind his manners, but the brat starts insulting his own older sister because he sees Moran as a tool for political relationships. Haruto can't believe what his royal mother and father have been teaching him. Prince Lise continues his tirade and looks down on Haruto because he's Gold's adopted son and a weak level 2. He gets cocky and challenges Haruto to a duel in the yard to teach him a lesson. Haruto notices that Lise is at level 9 and could max out at 40. Lise takes the first swing, but Haruto dodges it quickly. Lise then orders Haruto not to dodge because he wants to teach him manners, so Haruto complies. But no matter how much Lise attacks, Haruto's barrier protects him. Lise becomes frustrated and demands Haruto fight back. This is what Haruto wanted to hear. He gets back in the game and beats up Lise hardcore. Moran intervenes, telling Lise to stop because he's making a fool of himself. His ego hurt, Lise uses a fireball to harm Haruto, but Haruto cancels his spell. Once again, Moran tells Lise to stop, but he thinks Haruto is cheating because it takes an intermediate mage to cast Magic Absorb. Hearing this, Haruto decides to return every fireball he absorbed, and Lise has no choice but to admit defeat. As a big sister, Moran apologizes to Haruto, but he doesn't mind and takes his leave. Haruto wonders if his royal mother and father are still keeping tabs on him, but then again, they did throw him away for being weak. Haruto realizes anything is possible. And with that, our episode 3 comes to an end. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive the latest updates on my newly uploaded videos. The story begins on a rainy night in the ominously named Forest of Death. A terrible scream echoes through the trees as a man clutches the bloody hole where his eye used to be. A hooded figure cackles at the sight, remarking that the Empire must truly be in decline if even someone like Glenn could defeat one of his best heroes. Glenn doesn't take kindly to the backhanded compliment that the man missing his eye takes it even worse. He confronts the hooded men, demanding to know why they would betray their comrades. A joker among them surveys the bodies nearby and commends the fallen hero and his allies for completing their difficult sealing mission with just 4 people. However, now that the hard work is done, they must die so that the rest of the group can take the credit. With one final cry, the betrayed hero is cut down and the rest is history. Years later, we arrive in Rodeo. One such wagon hides a young girl, nervous but excited. Soon, she will cross the border and reach the land of the 7 heroes, a place of peace and legend. Within the city, the warrior monk Raj delivers a speech. Though it pains him, he must oversee today's execution of stowaways. As the prisoners are strung up and cruelly executed, Raj reminds the crowd that only those with lawful travel passes from his monastery may cross the border. Any who attempt to sneak in will meet the same fate as those hanging above. Nearby, a mysterious one-eyed man watches in disgust. The girl in the wagon is discovered and dragged before the monks accused of being a stowaway. Raj, irritated that the previous executions haven't even been cleaned up yet, orders her to be dealt with swiftly. Just as her hopes seem lost, a stranger appears, calling her Peppy and scolding her for getting into trouble. He drags her away like an annoyed older sibling, claiming she's his sister. The monks don't believe him, and Raj prepares to add 2 more to the day's executions. Peppy panics, and the stranger reaches for his sword. But before the situation escalates, a pair of strong hands lift them both off the ground. The one-eyed man intervenes, spinning a quick lie before slipping Raj a small bribe. The gleam of gold changes Raj's tune instantly, and he suddenly sees the virtue in these 2 young souls. One of the monks protests, but Raj silences him. The 3 escape before further trouble arises. By the canal, Peppa thanks the one-eyed man for saving her, only to get a thump on the head from the stranger, who reveals he was in a wagon right behind hers. Her actions nearly ruined his plan. She fires back, pointing out that he would have been captured too if not for their rescuer. The one-eyed man warns them both to stop playing around and turn back. He pats the stranger on the head like a child and tells him sneaking across the border is impossible. He only has a chance because he paid a smuggler a hefty sum. The stranger, now nicknamed Little Hero, bristles at the comparison to the 7 great heroes, declaring that it makes him sick. The one-eyed man, uninterested in tantrums, prepares to leave, but the stranger stops him, intrigued by the mention of a smuggler. Peppy, too, is desperate, revealing that she has nothing and no one to return to. Suddenly, the stranger's ears twitch. 13 armed monks are approaching fast. Without warning, he picks up Peppy and tosses her into the canal. Moments later, the monks arrive, having caught wind of the bribe and wanting a cut of the fortune. The one-eyed man, unimpressed, points out the corruption in the monastery. Gold determines one's virtue in their holy order. The monks don't care for his insight and prepare to kill both men and steal their wealth. One charges forward, but before he can strike, the stranger effortlessly cuts him down. The one-eyed man watches in disbelief as the supposed little hero tears through the monks with shocking ease. Once the fight is over, the stranger dumps the bodies into the canal, where a furious and soaked Pepper resurfaces downstream. Impressed, the one-eyed man introduces himself as Weed and asks the stranger to join him. The stranger strikes a pose and announces his name, Coin. Pepper tries to introduce herself, but Coin cuts her off, urging her to hurry. Their journey takes them beneath the city through forgotten ruins. Weed explains that this was once a fortress belonging to Wishtek, but is now home to vagrants and monsters. They arrive at a shady tavern where a smuggler awaits, a beautiful, scantily clad woman who seems amused by Weed's new companions. Though she initially agrees to their deal, Weed's recent bribe has left him short on funds. The smuggler sighs but lets it slide, admitting that Coin reminds her of someone she once knew. She then reveals that the 7 heroes will soon be encamped nearby in a place called Thousand Spears. The revelation changes Coin's mind instantly. This is his chance to see the heroes up close. Meanwhile, Raj looks over the city with disdain, burning with religious fervor. Tonight, someone will pay. Soon, word reaches the smuggler that the monks are storming the tavern. Raj, ever the dramatic orator, accuses her of smuggling and produces a small, trembling man as a witness. The informant exposes her crimes, expecting mercy, only to be swiftly executed. Raj then orders the arrest of everyone inside, and chaos erupts. Lee fights back but is overwhelmed. Raj captures Peppy and begins squeezing the life out of her. Weed desperately looks around, wondering where the hell Coin has gone. Just then, Coin makes a grand entrance, cutting the ropes of a suspended boat and riding it down onto the monks' heads. Raj, unnerved, name drops his boss, Landgrave. Coin's response is simple: bring it on. The monks stand no chance as he carves through them. Raj, realizing he's doomed, flees into the night. Our heroes escape into the underground ruins, aiming for the smuggler's ship. But their path is blocked by a monstrous creature, one that took the smuggler's friend years ago. Coin attacks, but the beast swats him away, sending him crashing through the ceiling. The smuggler panics, believing him dead, and Weed finds himself facing the creature alone. Using his unique weapons, he cracks the monster's armor, but it learns his tricks and slams him into the wall. Just as all hope seems lost, a strange light begins to shine. Coin, now fully rejuvenated, lands atop the monster's head. With a single perfect slash, he brings his blade down. The beast scoffs, until its head erupts in a geyser of blood. Coin tells Weed to stop fooling around. They're in a rush. Before they can celebrate, a flash of light scorches the battlefield. Raj cackles from the shadows, announcing that all is lost. His secret weapon, the powerful mage Gratz, has arrived. The battle is far from over.